Hi, everybody. Welcome to Monday Study. Hi, Layla. Uh, Good evening to you. Yeah, it's morning over where I am. It's sunny right now. We have a little more rain coming in, but there's snow on the mountain, and it is freezing cold outside, especially for where I am in Southern California. Well, today we are going to talk about revival, and I guess you all are pretty aware of what's going on in Kentucky, although it's winding down. They're trying to get control back on the campus. um, but one thing I noticed is that the people standing in line to get in, they have a real hunger, and they're not just young people. They're all different ages, and they've come from a long way. A lot of them have driven a long way, even flown in. But I think it's more than a revival. I think it's more of a harvest. Like people are really hungry, and there's a real harvest going on. Now, I revert back to the God's calendar. We'll be coming up on the spring feast pretty soon here, but the uh, on the fall feast, it's about the last part of the summer, which is the church age. That there'll be a big harvest at the end of the summer, and just before the uh, fall feast, there's a big harvest. And the Bible also talks about the latter rain. So I believe that the harvest is very ripe, and uh, it hit in this one college campus, but it wasn't just all of a sudden there it was. People had been praying for it. There had been another revival, as some of you may know, that 10 years ago. I was at 1970, so a little more than 10 years. Anyway, whenever it was, and they had been praying for another revival there. And even though it only started with 2 students that stayed over, then others came back, and then it just exploded from then, especially on social media. I think that's kind of what got people uh, finding out about it. But the thing is, I don't think it's a pattern. I don't think you can use it as a template of what you can do in your own group of people. But I think what it is showing how great the hunger is, and how ripe the harvest is. So I think we're going to see a big awakening all over the United States. So how do you host a revival? I think the important thing is to get away from uh, traditions, because like religious traditions really choke the working of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit needs to be in control. And each group of people is different, just like each of us as human beings are unique and we're different. So are groups of people. They have their own little personality, I guess you could say. And even in the Bible and Revelation, when the letter to the 7 churches, that even though those 7 churches, being newly formed, they were all different, and they had different issues, different settings. So it doesn't mean that you have to change what you do on Sunday morning, but to maybe add a time when you open up the facility for prayer and study, maybe not study, testimony. I think that um, the important thing is to have the desire and the hunger for it to happen in your group or in your community. It can just start out in your group as just a few people. And I'm not saying groups, I'm saying churches, the same thing. Denominations, and a lot of different denominations call their church group different things, assemblies or halls or different things. So the thing is to have to really surrender to however the Holy Spirit wants you to work, and to be listening to his voice, and to be open, but then be patient, because it can take years, or it can take days. You don't know. And the thing is to be patient and persistent, and to be to have a place available where people can come, And then also go out in groups to the homeless and to people who don't have access, senior homes, people who don't have access to get out and go places. Um, and even online, uh, you can have different places where people can come online and you can pray for them, like by the phone, which can help sometimes for some people who can't get out. But I think that starting out with worship, because you see, worship, when you start to worship, that brings in the Holy Spirit, when you're worshiping, and testimonies. I think hearing what has happened to other people in their lives, and so in churches, so many people have testimonies, but you never hear them. And so you can have like 100 people around you, and you may be singing, that's all good, and you get a nice sermon, very helpful. Yes, but do you hear the testimonies of the people? And I think there needs to be a place for that in all the different assemblies, however your group of people get together. It could be a night time or whatever, but you can just advertise it is just to come in and to worship. And I think the important thing that we're seeing now is it's not celebrity uh, speakers. Celebrity speakers, they have their place and they're fun to listen to, and they've had their testimony. But I think it's important that the little people, the ordinary people, give their testimonies, so you're not having just one leader controlling over everything. And I don't think you should have an agenda like, okay, now at this time we're going to do this, and at that time we're going to do that, and then we'll break. A lot of people have gotten in the habit of most of the general churches of, they come in, they have the announcements, then they have the songs, and then they may break up into the kids leave some places, and then they have the sermon, and then after the sermon they collect money, and then that's the end of it. It'd be kind of nice after that to maybe have a social time with coffee, that sort of thing. In my own church, we tend to not necessarily go in any order, but after everything is done, because we usually go from like between 10 and 12, and at 12 o'clock, most people, they're not ready to go yet. They're not ready to leave, and that's when we usually have testimonies and pray for each other. I think that's another part of it. So there's the worship, the testimonies, and praying for each other, and to have discipleship. So then when somebody comes to the Lord and they become born again Christian at one of these meetings, it's not good to just drop them from there and say, okay, there, you now go read the Bible and you're on your own. But it'd be good to have some kind of a connection. Another thought might be getting with other groups of people, the other churches, not necessarily in your denomination, because that's what I saw back in the 60s. Uh, that that movie coming up, Jesus Revolution. That's when I was just started college when all that came about, or just my senior year of high school. Because my senior year of high school, I was in Burbank, and there was a lot going around